Welcome back to the Movement Project. It's episode 38. I'm here with my really good friend Brittany Castelamar, and what we're going to do is show you what's wrong with the anterior tilt. A lot of times it's causing people back pain. It's changing the way that we squat, the way we deadlift, and we do major lifts. So I'm going to show you what the anterior tilt is and how we can correct it. So the anterior tilt, if you're looking at someone from the side, you're going to notice a little protrusion in the gut area. Brittany's super thin, so she obviously doesn't have a gut, and she doesn't have a butt either. But she's making it look to us like she does because she's sticking her butt up, because what's happening is her pelvis is actually rotating forward from tightness in her hip flexors and then underactive glutes. So it's causing some low back pain because of the tension that it's putting on her from rotating forward. Well, what happens is, then we've got our femur. You can go and relax that position even though, yeah. She is anteriorly tilted, but she was just helping out with a little exaggeration. What happens in that is, if it's exaggerated that much, your femur is actually changing its position, and so when we have that problem, then it's changing the way that we walk, the way that we lift, and the way that we move. So what we want to do today is show you some core stability exercises and some mobility exercises to help fix that. The first thing that Brittany is doing is she's working on posterior and anterior tilt of her pelvis. We have her staying accountable by putting the ball in her upper back. I don't want her to move from a thoracic spine at all. I want her only tilting from her pelvis, so it's a small movement. That's a posterior tilt. That's an anterior tilt. So what we want her to do is just become more aware of her posture. Naturally, she's anterior tilted, and I just want her to become aware of what the posterior tilt feels like for when we start going through mobility drills, and we're going to try to recreate that movement. Alright, the next thing that we're going to do is some soft tissue work on her hip flexors and her quads. So like I said, quads and hip flexors are overactive and therefore shortened. And so what we're going to do is lengthen those tissues. If she feels a tight, tender spot, she's going to stop on that spot and go ahead and bend the knee into full flexion 5 times on that spot. And then after she does that, she'll continue rolling and looking for more of those tender spots. And again, 5 reps every time she finds one. Prescription here, 2 minutes on each. All right, next thing we're going to do is mobilize the short and restricted tissues. So we're getting her into a half kneeling position. She's banded, getting a little bit of an anterior distraction. So what that's doing is kind of pulling her femur to the front of the hip capsule, as before we were kind of towards the back of the capsule and kind of, borderline impinging back there. So we're getting that anterior distraction, and what she's doing is going from an anterior tilt to a posterior tilt. You can see her anterior tilting there and posterior tilting there. And so this is not only helping with her body awareness and positioning, but it's also getting her into a huge stretch every single time she does that posterior tilt. So prescription here, 2 minutes on each side, focusing on asymmetry, so you'll spend more time on the more restricted side. Next part of the sequence is some twerk practice. Just kidding. Okay. So what's really important about the glutes and the hamstring dynamic is that the glutes fire before the hamstrings, and that you're also able to isolate the left versus the right. All right, so what I'm going to do, and you don't have to have a partner do this, but I'm just showing you guys with my fingers here. My fingers. All right, what she's going to do is fire her left glute. All right, and what I'm feeling for, and go ahead and relax, she's doing 2-second contractions, she's just engaging and relaxing. I'm just feeling to see if she fires her glute before her hamstring or vice versa. Again, what you want to be able to do is fire your glute before your hamstring. All right, so I'll do both sides, she'll do 10 on each, and I also want to see if she can fire just her left versus her right. Yeah, good, nice, okay, and she's doing 10 reps of each, so she's firing the left for 10 and the right for 10, making sure she can isolate the two, dissociate, and making sure she can fire the glute before the hamstring. Getting Brittany into what looks like a half child's pose position with one leg extended out, and what she's doing is she's lifting that extended leg as high as she can in the air by squeezing her left glute. The reason that this is the way that we're going to isolate the glute is because if we flex that right hip, then reciprocal inhibition says she cannot use her lumbar, her lower back, to do that movement. Her back can't extend and flex at the same time. So with her extending the one leg out and flexing the other hip, we're isolating the left glute and hamstring, and every time she's doing those reps, she's really feeling the difficulty of that. So we're prescribing 10 on the left and 10 on the right.